Movie director Spike Lee is today saying he's sorry. The famous filmmaker posted to Twitter the address of an elderly couple that he thought was the address of George Zimmerman, the Florida neighborhood watchman accused of shooting a black teenager to death. As you can imagine, the couple, Elaine and David McLean, are living in fear. Death threats have been pouring in since the teenager, Trayvon Martin, was killed last month. Fox's Trace Gallagher is here with more on this story. What else, Trace?
You know, the original tweet, Allie, was actually sent by a man here in Los Angeles of that wrong address, and then Spike Lee retweeted the wrong address. Of course, Spike Lee has 250,000 followers, so it had a big impact. That wrong address is several miles away from where Trayvon Martin was actually shot. And the mistake happened because Elaine McLean has a son whose name is William George Zimmerman, who lived with her back in the 1990s. And now, as you might imagine, the McLeans have been harassed nonstop. Listen to them.
We know we have extremists all over, and we're afraid that someone might see the address and decide, well, we'll take care of them ourselves.
And then the Black Panthers have a bounty on Mr. Zimmerman's head. And you don't know what their followers might decide to do.
Spike Lee says he's sorry, issuing this tweet saying, and I'm quoting here, "I deeply apologize to the McLean family for retweeting their address. It was a mistake. Please leave the McLeans in peace." Ends by saying justice in court. But much of the damage is already done. The elderly couple has moved out of their house and into a hotel, and they have hired a very well-known Orlando law firm. There's no word if they plan legal action, but here's the deal. Spike Lee actually violated Twitter's policy by retweeting that address, so there's a chance that his Twitter account might be taken down as well, though Twitter also has not responded to this.
All right, Trey, so let's see what else is in store for Spike Lee. Let's bring in attorney Greg Gianfrancaro to talk about this. Greg, thanks for being here. How much trouble is Spike Lee in?
Legally, he's in quite a bit of trouble. And frankly, I think losing his Twitter account is going to be the least of his problems.
And so what sorts of charges can he face for erroneously tweeting this address?
I don't think he really faces criminal charges, but under the circumstances, civil liability is absolute here. I think this is the kind of case that lawyers dream about. Imagine if the McLeans were your parents. Imagine how emotionally damaging it's going. I mean, you're talking about a situation where this is a group, and this is not to weigh in against George Zimmerman or for George Zimmerman. This is a situation where, I mean, on Friday, you've got demonstrators on behalf of Trayvon Martin, who the North Miami Beach students actually charged into a Walgreens. And this is the kind of situation and extremists that the McLeans have to be worried about.
So Greg, let's say that Spike Lee hadn't tweeted the wrong address, that he'd gotten it right, okay? That he'd actually tweeted out George Zimmerman's accurate address. Is that a crime?
I don't think necessarily it's a crime per se, but I would even argue, given what may end up or reasonably expect to happen to George Zimmerman under those circumstances, he might even be legally responsible to George Zimmerman. Look, I understand he wants to take a stand and have a position and be involved in this situation, obviously. But I think under the circumstances, even he would admit that he made a mistake.
Now, is there a larger lesson here for all of us, basically in social media? And that is, can we all just go around tweeting whatever we want, or are there laws here?
Well, the fact is that Spike Lee is a celebrity, and he really is held to a higher standard, or at least should be held to a higher standard under these circumstances. So I think, and frankly, as far as lawyers go, he's considered a deep pocket. So that's a situation that exists here, and he's going to, at least a minimum, he's going to have to buy these people a new home, as far as I can see.
Oh my gosh. So obviously he's in hot water, and it's a cautionary tale for the rest of us to be responsible on Twitter and social media. Greg Gianfrancaro, thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure, Allison.